There is only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Enguarde. There's no way anyone would put a bloody button in their own pants. That's right, Mr. Enguarde was set up. By the real killer, of course. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then? Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet, not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. Enguarde, is Adrian Andrews.
Take that!
I choose you! You are Mr. Corrida's killer, you fucking dork. What? Order! 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 Mr. Wright, this is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Oh, shite. Any evidence? All the evidence points to Miss Andrews. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Oh. Then how about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he'd already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. Enguarde, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Ugh. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama? The button was removed from the victim's body after he'd already died. The only person who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Enguarde was the real killer, there's no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Enguarde's Hakama is the person who went to wake him up from his nap, which is you yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That's also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. The costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the scene. Now, who could have known there was such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Adrian Andrews. No, But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she didn't intend on leaving any prints. If anyone found out she touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposely left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. Ah! And to top it all off, there's this photo. A photo of the killer as they exit the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on earth would believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Enguarde. He'd be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not? But please stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time. Miss Andrews? I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Well, yes. You're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination by allowing a witness not to testify if the testimony can cause them self-damage. What? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. You did that. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Arngard's room... Agent Andrews! Yes? Think all about what we just discussed. Understood? All right. That's it. That's when Franziska planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews not to testify if things look bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there's still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done? What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What's so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realise this as well, Your Honour. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up until this point is meaningless. What? Everything you've proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbour a wish to murder Mr. Corrida. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? I believe this may lead me to incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, we don't even know what crime I'd be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking the defiant attitude again. Mia, what should I do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation. I think we've reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defence's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true. In this situation, there's only one thing the court can do, and that's to declare a recess. Recess? I request both the prosecution and the defence look further into this matter, and at tomorrow's trial... Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honour. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client's getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya. But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... Thank you, Miles. It is not impossible for the trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to what she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that's very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing I'm curious about. Miss Andrews. When you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yes, and?
I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they're shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice.
Nice Bond reference, Miles. So my actions were unusual, but I've already...
Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect.
Testify?
Your Honor, I would like to request the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness.
I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know.
The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.
The glass of juice. I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw the messy state it was in. And one was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he'd fainted or something, so I went to pour in some juice. When I realised he was dead, that's when I knocked the vase over.
So you poured the glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony?
I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with the testimony, there's nothing left.
I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. But there wasn't anyone else in the room, right?
Of course not.
Then who'd you pour it for?
Mr. Wright, there is rhyme and reason for everything. Can you wait just a little longer for it to be revealed to you?
In other words, Wright, be quiet and listen.
Precisely. I could have said it better myself.
So it was a mess? Are you sure it wasn't messy because of your fight with Mr. Corrida? I understand your frustration not being able to prove your theory. However, before you go accusing people of crimes, find yourself some evidence. And then what did you see next, witness? Slumped over.
Yes, he was just sitting there with his head tilted forward, eyes closed. He really looked like he was sleeping.
It's just me, or did that right there sound a little odd? Then what did cross your mind?
I thought maybe he smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prix. And then felt tired after his rampage, so decided to take a nap. Anyways, that's what I thought.
I see. You didn't think he was dead at all. You thought he fainted?
I thought he was asleep at first. But then the room was in such a messy state I thought he got in a fight with someone.
And that's when you went to pour the glass of juice?
Yes, he always had a hard time waking up. Someone always had a glass of tomato juice to drink.
I see. And after that, what happened next?
And how'd you come to realise he was in fact dead? I shook him over and over, but I never got a response. So I set the glass down on the dresser and tried to take his pulse. I was shocked and staggered backward.
And knocked the vase over. So that's what happened.
Yes. This is what it all comes down to.
Huh?
This is the absolute end for both sides, and Adrian's letting her guard down. Phoenix, now's our best chance yet to kill the prosecution's case.
Isn't that a bit harsh, Miss Andrews? Will you tell us the truth this time? It's got to be the knife, right? Shit. Okay. There we go. Right idea, wrong statement. There we go. You honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him?
No, not at all.
Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body?
Oh,
What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honour? There was a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Corrida's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that here was a dead man.
but that's... Well, you see...
I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is? Ms. Andrews, your testimony just now was all one giant lie. And your lie's proven one thing very clearly. You are the real killer. Looks like the defence has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard, is not guilty after all.
That's impossible, you're wrong.
Miss Andrews, try to have some composure.
It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt, I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan.
But you're the one who refused to testify. And your reason for not doing so was you might end up incriminating yourself.
That's because...
Miss Andrews, I'll give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you?
I refuse to testify.
Then there's no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt Ungard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last?
What's wrong, Phoenix?
Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I'd like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt Ungard. What now? Your Honour, the prosecution feels it would be premature to pass down a verdict this time. What? The reason's quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. Absolute real truth? What are you? Witness, don't you understand yet?
Huh?
I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Engard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party.
That's a lie. I don't believe you.
What?
I was told if I spoke, it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty.
What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it?
I can't speak about it. I'm too scared.
It's Franziska von Karma. Huh? Don't you remember, Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another. Because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then, right now, Miss Andrews is... Yesterday she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word no matter what happens. If you do, Matt Engard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now and is clinging to them. Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. But Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get on not guilty, and that's my only priority.
It wasn't me. I'm begging you, please believe me. I didn't kill Ron. Help, please. Someone, help me.
Mr. Wright! Yes, Your Honour. The court can't continue like this. Therefore, I'd like to hear what you intend to do. What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say?
Right, I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. And think about who the real mastermind is behind this crime.
Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying over there. Right?
Come now, what will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix Wright?
I think this is where an alternate ending comes in, and I kind of want to unlock that. Okay, no it isn't. Okay, never mind. I have to win a complete acquittal today, there's no way around it. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you're really hiding.
Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Sure, Mr. Engard will get an acquittal, but in his place you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end?
Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me.
That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear the defence's theory is the truth.
You're wrong.
What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this. However...
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court.
Stop.
Mr. Edgeworth!
This witness, how should I put this, has an illness.
What?
And because of this illness, she tried to commit suicide in the past.
Stop. Please stop.
No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here.
That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report.
What will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews.
The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world.
Please stop. I beg you. If people find out. How?
If you're going to say you would choose death, it's no concern to me.
Edgeworth, how can you be so cold?
However, before you die, I'll pull the truth from your still breathing lips.
Alright. Edgeworth, fucking edgelord more like.
No matter what I have to do. So, will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either's fine with me.
I'll talk. But please, help me. Nothing matters anymore. When I first saw him, I really thought he'd fainted, honest. When I realised he was dead, that's when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I dashed back to Matt's room. Then I stabbed Juan's dead body with a knife and ripped off the button. When I finished and I was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. That's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume.
Stab the body with a knife? Why'd you do that?
Isn't it obvious? To pin the blame on a certain someone. A certain cowardly man.
Huh? What do you mean by all this? It might take us quite a little while to understand, but this is the truth.
The real killer's Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time.
Last time?
So, Ms. Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Corrida, in the chest with a knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt Ungard for the murder. And this is her crime.
What? How's this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer?
Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence cross-examination.
But you could tell from the state the room was in there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say you did not know he was dead?
He had a scarf tied around his neck. That scarf's part of the Jamming Ninja costume, so I didn't think anything about that was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up and went to pour the juice.
What's this plan you had?
I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because, one, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt.
So the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button.
The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room.
That was so you could get the knife, correct?
The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, the police would certainly turn their eye toward him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife and returned to the scene of the crime.
So you were the one to stab the victim with the knife?
It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did, but at the time I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. Then when I stabbed one's body, I realised something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect.
Nothing about fingerprints.
So you thought you could rip one of the buttons off and plant them in Mr. Ungard's Huckmer?
Yes, that's what I planned to do. But things never got to go that smoothly, do they? Just when I finished, I returned to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience.
An inconvenience?
There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway.
I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta.
And there was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth.
Old bag for you.
I'd already been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once. I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again.
You're the one who prepared the costume, weren't you?
Yes, I took it from Global Studios. I also put it in one's guitar case the day before the award ceremony.
You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct?
Yes, Juan wanted to wear the costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there.
What is this secret?
That I don't know. Anyway, I thought if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume.
I think we've heard enough. So after that, you went back to Mr. Ungard's room and planted the button?
Into Matt's Hackmer? Yes. After that, I followed up the costume I was wearing and put it in a bag. I snuck it out the hotel and got rid of it.
My word, does all this mean?
Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal is Matt Ungard? Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk.
Franziska, huh?
She said I should under no circumstances confess what I'd done. If I just kept quiet, Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe her words.
What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she's not the real killer.
Wait, Your Honour. The defence still...
Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it's not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. The cross-examination of the witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright. But, Mr. Edgeworth, please place Mr. Andrews under arrest. Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honour. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That's all. Court is adjourned for today.
Shit. Today's trial is over, and I didn't win an acquittal.
Witness, would you mind if I asked you something?
Edgeworth? What is it?
Before you leave court today, I wondered if I might look at one thing. That card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it?
Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time you asked me about it, Mr. Wright, I remembered just now. I found this in the room on that day.
The room? That day?
Yes. I found this card when I discovered one's body. It was lying there right next to him.
You found that card next to the victim's body?
I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if the card has any relevance to one's murder, right?
I guess not, but it's still a strange card if you ask me. It changes everything, Phoenix. That's the calling card of the killer. As far as a clue to this case, I don't see why.
Witness, that card, give it to me, hurry!
Edgeworth?
Do you have any idea what you have stupidly, inadvertently done? I can't believe you hid this from me all this time!
I didn't mean to. What's all this about?
I've never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. That card, what in the world is it, and what does it mean?